If you really want to amplify your S650 Mustang's trademark Coyote V8 howl, then the Pypes X-Bomb is exactly what you're after. Featuring a classic look and a loud, raucous exhaust note for one of the lowest prices in the segment, it's a great addition to any build. Now there's no getting around it, this setup is loud enough to get a very strong 4 out of 5 on our loudness meter. It's not entirely unhinged, but there will be no mistaking your car once you've got this installed. Just a quick note on fitment here before we dive in too deep. This is designed to fit all 2024 and newer Mustang GT Fastbacks that are not equipped with the factory active exhaust. I don't think there's anyone out there who'd be able to make a convincing argument that the Coyote V8 doesn't sound good right out of the box. And you will certainly get more with this system. As you heard, volume is not an issue here. From the moment you fire it up, you can hear a huge difference. This makes the Mustang sound like a proper muscle car. There is nothing muted about this. And this one in particular gives it a bit of more higher pitched tone, something more akin to what you'd find coming out of a GT350 or a car that's running laps out on a circuit. Now most of that sound comes courtesy of the M80 Bullet style Violator series mufflers that are included with this kit. Now while some manufacturers claim to have straight through mufflers that aren't necessarily so, Pypes sticks pretty true to that. These are essentially straight through with a little bit of baffling, so you get to enjoy all those glorious V8 noises. Now since this is a full catback, this will of course completely replace your factory mufflers and resonators, but it will retain your factory catalytic converters. Of course, inside the cabin will also be quite a bit louder than stock, so plan on having to speak up or turn up your radio. But the real magic here is that this setup includes an X-pipe, and that does a number of things. First, it combats drone by allowing exhaust gas pulses to intermingle. Instead of forcing everything together through a constrictive Y-pipe, the X-pipe provides a smooth crossover, which helps create a bit of a vacuum and allows those exhaust gas pulses to coincide like that. That also helps reduce exhaust back pressure and again allows those varying pulses to meld together, which is where we get that smooth tone and the lack of drone. And since X-pipes also allow and help create more flow, they can help make some more power, specifically up in the higher end of the rev range, which is where the Coyote V8 thrives. So you get awesome sound and more without the literal headache. Now this system is also available with an H-pipe if you're after more power down low in the rev range or you prefer that deeper tone from your exhaust. But either way you slice it, you can't really go wrong. Now the whole thing is capped off by a pair of black finished 4-inch round tips exiting in the stock location. Though it's not the biggest change from stock, these do have the Pypes logo stamped into the side and they evoke that classic muscle car look and feel. It pairs quite well with the sound profile here, and since they are this nice kind of glossy black finish, if you're blacking out your car, these will get you there too. Now you can get this system with polished tips if you're after a more classic appearance, and that one is available on our site as well. The system here is constructed from 3-inch mandrel-bent 409 grade stainless steel, and the tips are a dual-wall T304 stainless setup. Being 409 grade stainless steel means that this will provide you some good resistance to rust and corrosion. Though it's not the highest grade material, it will still last you a while, and everything is nicely put together here, the welds look good, and it's just a nice bit of kit. And you're also going to save a bit of money versus a full T304 stainless setup as well. Speaking of which, pricing comes in at about $750, which makes this a really reasonable option for the S650, and in fact, it's one of the most affordable catbacks on the market for these cars thus far. And given the sound and all the other good stuff that's baked in, I would definitely call this a good buy. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete. Everything you need is included in the kit, and the system utilizes all your factory exhaust hanger locations, so you don't need to modify anything on the car itself. And to show you the process now, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a rubber mallet, flathead screwdriver, an extension, 15mm socket, and a 13mm swivel socket. What's up guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Mustang, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is come to the double flange behind our cat. We have 4 15mm bolts that we can loosen up with a 15mm socket. Now we're going to leave this just like that for now as we work on the rest. One thing to keep in mind is when we go to pull this off, this little hook is keeping this on, so you're going to have to get a flathead screwdriver to pull back on that on both sides when we go to remove it. Next we can come right behind our rear diff to this hanger. There's one on each side of this bracket. There's a 13mm bolt holding it on. So I've got a 13mm swivel socket on an extension to pop this off. And now we'll just come to the other side and do the same exact thing. And now with them both removed, you can push up to get those hangers off the hooks. And do that same thing on the other side. Now, last thing we need to do before we can remove this is remove these 2 bolts that were on the inside of those 2 hangers behind the rear diff. So I'm using that same 13mm socket with an extension. Now with those removed, we can push it up off the hook and pull that down to get the clearance we need. So now I've got myself a buddy to support the weight of the rear of the exhaust while I work on the front. We're gonna push this towards the rear to disconnect these 2 pipes, and then we can pull it forward to pull it out of the back hangers. So now with our exhaust removed, we can take an exhaust hanger remover tool to pop off these 2 hangers because we will have to reuse them for our new exhaust. Now, last thing we need to pop off is our 2 clamps that are at the front of the exhaust. You can take a rubber mallet and get the edge of a pry bar on the edge of the clamp to tap these off. So now that we have our factory exhaust removed, first thing we're going to do is reinstall our 2 clamps. Slide those on and then line up that clip with the nub there. You can take a rubber mallet to smack it on if it doesn't go on easily. And then we're going to take our 2 adapter pipes here, slide those into those clamps. And then take your 15mm socket and snug those up. And then next we're going to install our X pipe. I've got a pole jack here because it is pretty heavy. We're just going to have that here to support the weight until we can get our pipes with the hangers installed. So slide a couple clamps on there and then raise up your X pipe. This bar on the bottom is going to be pointing down. Slide that onto your adapter pipes. Get your clamps over it. And then grab a 15mm socket and tighten those down. And then next we're going to take another clamp, slide that on the outlet of our X pipe. Take the hanger that you removed that hooks onto the frame, slide that on. Then slide your pipe into place and go up and hook that hanger on. And then we'll throw our bolt into that hanger. We're going to leave that clamp loose for now until we get our tailpipe installed. So now line up your hanger and thread in that bolt. And then while we're here, we're just gonna hook our little carpet piece back onto those hooks and thread those 2 bolts in as well. And then you can grab your 13mm swivel socket and tighten down all 3 of those. Then we can take our tailpipe. We're going to go up into this hanger first. Make sure you get your clamp on there first. Next, I'm going to throw the tip on. That way we can align this, get it all centered up in our exhaust cutout while we're tightening down our clamps. So raise this up. We're going to hold it right about there while we tighten down those 2 previous clamps. Now get your tip lined up in the hole, and then go back with your 15mm socket, tighten down your clamps. And now take your 15mm socket and tighten down the bolt on your tip. And then you can repeat that whole process on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Pypes X-Bomb catback exhaust system with black tips for your 24 to 25 Mustang GT Fastback without active exhaust. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.